Okay. So yeah. By the way, if you want to, if you want to gauge yourself where you are, if you want to understand, if you want to try and find out what you understand so far, you need to look at memes, especially memes related to the whatever you're learning. So like this is actually a funny meme. I know some of you might not really understand where um, the fun part. I don't get what I'm saying. Anyway, but as we dive deeper into front end, we try to learn about building applications. We'll understand what this means. What the meme means. Of course, this is just motivational from Barack Obama. And we'll of course see why this is funny as well as we continue. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I've had a lot of coffee, so I think my words are it's messing me up. Yeah, so some people say front-end development, some people say UX, UI, some people say front-end engineering, and so on and so forth. But like always, if you want to, oh my goodness, if you want to learn something fast, especially in the engineering world, you start with what you know. Okay, you start with what you know, and then you retrace your steps. So we have a user. For those of you who have interacted with the story app, basically it allows you to write stories and then earn from your story. So every time somebody unlocks your story, you get 80% of the amount of tokens it's required to unlock a story. So if you're a writer and you have enough tokens, you can request to withdraw your tokens, which will basically convert the tokens to money. So assuming Mbadi here has 365 tokens on their story account and they want to withdraw that money. So what happens is on the front side, my goodness. On the app, of course, you'll click a button, say you want to withdraw your money. Okay, let me just show you what that means. So you'll click this button, okay, and say you want to withdraw your money. So you enter the amount as 300 Kenya shillings. For people outside Kenya, that is like, I think 0.2, 0.3 dollars, 0.2, I don't know, some dollars. Yeah. So you enter the amount and then you click confirm withdrawal. So that is happening on the mobile app on what you see on your phone. But when you click withdraw, a lot happens in the background. Okay, so what happens is the mobile app will communicate with what we call the backend. Okay, and the backend will do all the validation. Have you reached your threshold? Do you have enough money in your do you have enough tokens in your account? So the backend also communicates with the database. So the backend will tell the database, hey, get me Mbadi's balance. And then the backend will look at the balance. Is it more than what you're trying to withdraw? Okay, so if it's more, it processes the withdrawal and then it saves the new balance. So here we get new balance equals to balance minus withdrawal amount because you've already withdrawn your money. And then backend will give your mobile app a response saying withdrawal success, money has been deposited into your bank account. Okay, if you want to top up your account and you're doing it using the website, okay, so you'll go to the website, you'll click the wallet icon, and then it will give you all these options. So you as a user, let's say for example Irene, you say, hey, I want to top up 10 tokens, which is like 10 shillings. That is 10 Kenya shillings. That's about $0.01. 0.01. Anyway. So you use the whatever you see on the browser to say, hey, I want to top up 10 tokens. And then our browser or the website will talk to the backend and say, Irene wants to top up 10 tokens. Okay, so the backend will go to the database and say, hey, give me Irene's balance. Okay, the database will give backend it will give backend Irene's balance, and then backend will update the balance because you've topped up 10 tokens. So it will say the new balance equals to balance plus the top up amount. Remember, does this ring a bell? You know, from when we were talking about basics of, you know, programming, when we said we can say this plus this minus this, and so on and so forth. Now you see it here. So this is the current workflow. So what does this show us? This shows us that most applications, if not all, most software we see in the world, they are comprised of 3 parts, and this is the most important part I want you to understand. Any software you see, especially the ones that you interact with, have 3 parts. They have the front end, they have the back end, and they have the data. Okay, so data is like a database, and so on and so forth. Database, some people say okay, you can just think of it as the data, as we've explained here. Okay, and this flow will help you understand a lot of what you're going to look at next. Okay, this flow right here. So user experience, or UI, means UX UI means user experience and user interface. Some people say user experience design or user interface design. It is a subset of computer science that deals with building user-facing side, you know, or part of the software. Okay, so in most teams, you have somebody working in the back end, you have somebody managing the database, and then you have somebody working on the front end. Okay, so that is what you're going to focus on in this class. We are going to transition from the fundamentals of programming, what we've learned so far, into now building web applications using JavaScript, and the framework you're going to use is called Next.js. Okay, so we'll start by understanding what front-end engineering is. We will learn the principles of good user interface, user experience design, and look at some of the important prerequisites, prerequisite programming, you know, basics for front-end engineering. So basically, this is what you're going to learn how to design. Okay, so for example, if you go to the homepage of Soma Stories, we have the nav bar here. We want to understand how do we place the buttons here. How do we make this button clickable so that when somebody clicks on it, it redirects to the login page? Why do we have to have these buttons here? Why can't we have them down here? Why can't we have them here? So we are going to talk about, you know, the thought process that goes into making such decisions. We also need to learn why this button is bigger than this, why it's here, why this text is bigger than this, why there is no any other text here that is bigger than this, so on and so forth. Why we place the stories here. You also want to see why we have the story card designed this way. What happens when you click here? What happens when you click here? What happens when you click here? You know, what happens when you scroll up and down? You know, things like that. And this is just the front end part of it. This is the home page. This is the profile page, and this is the upload story page. And all this is powered by code. And if I can just give you a sneak peek of how the front end of Soma Story is. That was. But I think I already did that. I already gave you a sneak peek of the entire code that powers Soma Story. So let's not you know, spend so much time in that. Desmond, good evening. I see you here. All right. So that is just the intro of what you're going to learn today. It's going to be a very heavy topic, quite frankly, and I do hope you have your notes, and I do hope you have your coffee, and I do hope you put all the distractions aside. You're in a nice place, nice quiet room, if you can, you know, manage to have one, and you're ready to learn. So so before we write any code, we must understand the why behind the what. So before I tell you this is a button, this is the home page, you need to understand why do you have the home page, why do you have the button, why is the button red, or why is the button blue. And our case study for this class will be Soma Stories. Not that it's perfect, but it provides the basis of learning the fundamentals. By the way, in design nothing is perfect. Anybody can look at Soma Stories and be like, it looks ugly, and find ways to make it better. That's why the front-end engineer role exists, okay? Because we want to make things better. So the first principle we are going to look at is visual hierarchy, okay? And this is where we use size, color, and white space to guide the user's eye to the most important elements and what we call the call to action, or CTA. So if you look at the Soma Stories website, let me just log out so you are visiting as a guest. So when you go to Soma Stories website, if you are new, this is the first thing you'll see, okay? And here already we can see how we are using visual guides to help the user make a fast decision. So first and foremost, our title is bold and big. It's conspicuous. So we want to tell the user that, hey, if you sign in, you get 5 free tokens. And if you're a writer, you get 200 free tokens, okay? When you go to the home page, there are quite a lot going on here. But when you open this page, the first thing, the first place your eyes will go to is this part right here, okay? It's because here we want to deliver we want to deliver the main message. What is the platform about, okay? And then you want to make it super easy for the user to get started. As you can see, that is why these buttons are the size they are, okay? As you can notice, this is not the same size as this. This is slightly bigger, okay? And I've also tried to use black here because I want somebody to download the app. So the first thing I want you to do is read the title, what the app is about, and then download the app. If you have enough time, you can also try to read all this and see what the platform is about. And this animation just tries to explain the entire process from scratch. So this is what you call a visual hierarchy. So on our website, you don't want to put everything everywhere, okay? You don't want to put this text the same size as this text. And as you can see, we also have a visual hierarchy here. So I want you to know that you're talking about this chapter, okay? So I have made it a little bit bigger than anything else. And also these ones are the same text size. So that is visual hierarchy, okay? The next concept is affordance. UI elements should hint at their function, e.g. a button should look clickable. An input field should look like something you want to type into or inside. So if we go back to Soma Stories, as you can see, this is a button. There are of course a lot of things I can do here. For example, when the mouse is here, I can make the button bouncy. Oh, I should note that down, okay? So here I can make the button bouncy so that the user can know this is a clickable button. But the fact that the button is descriptive, start writing, it shows the user do this action, okay? And so on. So for example, when you come to register and you want to register, I have here display name, and of course, this is gray. So naturally the user will know this is somewhere I'm supposed to type. And we have that, in many systems where we are required to type something inside. So the next item is consistency. And this is where we reuse components. And think of components as, smaller pieces of your interface, okay? So, for example, we can say this is a button component. This is an animation component. This is a story card component, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about hierarchy, when we talk about consistency, what are we talking about? This is where psychology comes in. Human beings are very lazy. We don't want things to, something that requires a lot of our mental, something that requires us to involve ourselves mentally, we tend to shy away from it. So in your design, you have to find a way to reduce the amount of mental work somebody has to do. And we can achieve that by pattern and consistency in design. So for example, my button here is black. If I come here and change this button to blue, that is so much information somebody has to keep in their mind, okay? As well as this button. As you can see, these I've given it sort of like a stroke, and I've given this sort of like a stroke, okay? So if I have this as black, I have this as blue, and as you can see the same sort of consistency across the platform. As you can see, my tags have a black background, and the tag selector here also, if you click on these, as you can see, it's black, okay? And the tags here as well are black. So if I go into the stories page, is it my internet or I need to change myself? Anyway, so if you go into the stories page, my story cards are the same, okay? So you can't find this one, having its own design, this one having its own design. As a matter of fact, all the stories have a similar sort of like design. It's a card. So you start with the image for that story, and then you have the title, you have a snapshot of the content, and then you have the tags down here, the author, the whatnot, and this is consistent across the app. So if I come to podcast, so I want to the user to have a mental picture of, so I'm reading stories. Now I'm under podcast. So under podcast, as you can see, the user interface is a little bit different, but it maintains the same structure. You have the image, you have the title, you have the snapshot of the story. So this is what you call consistency in your front end or in your web pages. That is the differentiator, okay? Don't create a web page that you have buttons that are blue, you have buttons that are purple, you have this page with a white background as I have it here, but when the user goes to the story page, the background is yellow, okay? That becomes very confusing to the user. So that is on consistency. The next item is the user experience process, and here we are going to start with wireframing. We'll talk about what wireframing is. So before you do anything, before you start writing your code, and this is where most people get it wrong. You want to build a website, you start writing the code. That is wrong. As I always tell my students and anybody I've mentored, if you want to build any application, it starts here, okay? If you don't start here, you'll mess yourself up. It cannot be a literal note. It cannot always be a literal notepad. It can be just some notes on your computer, drawings and whatnot. So we start with wireframing, and wireframing is this is actually less detailed. I don't know what this spelling did here. So it's a less detailed blueprint, which focuses on the layout and flow rather than the aesthetic. So let me just show you a quick preview of how that might look like. So assuming I want to build a mobile app, okay, that users will recommend meals to users. Actually, that is a project I'm working on. You feel free to join me if you want. So number one, what do I need to do? I need to draw a wireframe of the user. We call it user journey, but it's more of like a user flow. So how do I do it? Number one, I say this is my phone, okay? A phone looks like that. So I have the first screen, I have the second screen, I have the third screen. So this is what we call user journey, okay? Something like that. So what do I want to show the user the first time they download the app? So for example, I want to have an image here. So I can draw an image here. I said the first thing I want the user to see is an image, okay? So let's give our image some color. So let's say, for example, yellow, okay? So we will have an image of foods in here, and we can just try and look for an image of food and work with the real life example. So we'll say ugali omena. Guys, I love ugali omena. So if you don't love ugali omena, I'm sorry. I love ugali omena. So we want to have something like, that doesn't look good. This looks nice. Okay, so the image is not very clear, so let's look for an image that is a little bit clearer. And please, for the love of God, can we stop putting milk in omena? On omena? In omena? With omena? Yes, please, let's stop doing that. So we get our image and then we paste it here. I don't know how to paste it exactly inside the artboard or the artwork, but say we have something like that, okay? And then down here, we want to have a button that says login, okay? So we draw our button at the bottom here and we put in the text. That is not supposed to happen. We put in the text login. All right, and then we do that. So as you can see, our button already has a yellow background and the text is green. So it beats logic for you to come to the second page here and set your button to green, and then come to another page right here and set your button to, let's say for example, blue stroke. Let's choose a different color, and then we have another button, for example, at the top here, and then we give this another color. Okay, so you see already that confuses you because there's too many information your brain has to keep track of. Anyway, so let's get rid of this button, and we get rid of this button. So what do we want when the user logs in? So when the user logs in, we want to show the login page. So we will have our login page here, which will take the username, password. So we'll have the username here, we'll have the password here, and we'll have the proceed or something. It's close to that. Okay, and then the profile page. So the user is now here. So we draw the profile page, how the profile page will look like. So we can have the user have a background photo sort of somewhere in here, and then they will have their profile photo here. They will have their name here, and then they will have their bio, and then we can add other things here like foods they've already eaten this week, or foods that were already generated for them last week. Okay, so this is what you call the wireframe. It's like a less detailed, or there's not a lot of detail here that shows how the user will log in, how the user will proceed and get to their profile picture. Okay, so this is a wireframe. Now so right here I'm using a tool called Exaldraw to draw my wireframe, but the standard tool we use is called Figma, and we'll look at Figma in a second. Okay, but the tool really does not matter. You can even draw it on your paper. So I can come here and say this is my login page. Okay, and my login page will have the same thing I've done there, a photo of food, and then it will have login here, and then maybe it can have an icon at the top here. Okay, so something like that. Okay, this is where you should start. Don't start writing code. Of course, we make that mistake. I even make that mistake myself. So it's just important to note. So let's get rid of all this and get back to what you're saying. So here are example of wireframes. Okay, so this is somebody who was building a web page. So this is the home page. And as you can see, they've defined the title here. They have buttons here, and there's an image here. This is another application. I don't know what this application does, but as you can see, it gives a high level preview of what the app will look like. So your wireframe can have as much details as you want, but it's always good practice to keep it very simple, because we also have the next stage, which is called prototyping. But your wireframe can be as simple as this. It can be as detailed as these, but it has to give you a mental picture of what you're building. So once you have the wireframe, we now go to the prototyping. And prototyping is now where we add more details to our photo, and we try to simulate what will happen. And I can just show you an example here. So let me just copy this link. text. So this is an example of a prototype of prototyping. So when a user clicks this button or clicks this opens. Okay, we have another example here. When a user clicks this, do this. When a user clicks this, do this. Okay, so this is what we call prototyping. We have more examples here. So a prototype is like a near complete version of your app, how it will look. And if you're building something, if you're building a mobile app for somebody, a prototype is extremely important, because I don't know if any of you have ever tried to build a website, like a simple website for somebody, but you build the first version, you send them, and then they tell you make this change. And then you write a lot of code, takes you about a week, you send it again, and then they say, hey, this one, make it do this. And then you send again, and and then there's a back and forth, and you get tired, you run away with the money or whatever, justifiably, of course. So a prototype will help you, get to a common ground with the client. You create the prototype even without writing any code. You send it to them. You tell them this is how the app will look like, because a prototype is a near complete version of your app. And then they make the changes. Of course, making changes, in a graphical user interface, like, move this button here, is way a lot easier than working with code, writing the actual code. Okay, so I'll share the link to Figma. You can look at all these and try to understand how they work, but you'll look at Figma in more details in a second. So once you're done with prototyping, the next item is accessibility, which basically means we ensure your user interface is usable for everyone. Okay. Let me just read some comments here before we proceed. Oh, Yellow Peter, welcome. Oh, Simon Wanyonyi, welcome, sir. So, Yellow Peter, you can go through the recordings, because all the classes are recorded and the recordings are here on YouTube. So when you get time or when your schedule allows, you can go through the recordings and try to learn. If you get stuck while going through the recordings, you can post in the help channel on Discord, which is right here. So on Discord, you can post in the help channel. If anything is bothering you, you can post it here. Myself or anybody else can, help you with whatever issue you're having. All right. So accessibility is trying to ensure your UI is usable for everybody. So we have things like contrast ratios. The text must be readable against the backgrounds. Okay, so you cannot have a text that is white. For example, if I just put a white text here, Moses, if I just pick this text and say, where is the color? And say I want it to be white. As you can see, it's visible, yes, but it's not that visible as like the way this is visible. But if you put this text, against a black background, then it becomes very visible. So if you do something like this, and then we give it black, that is a stroke, we give it black, and then our text has to be in front. So let me just say bring forward, and then we put it there. So as you can see, the two are not the same. This one looks like it's visible enough, but this one is not very visible. So that is what we mean by contrast. And then things like semantic HTML, we will look at all that in a second. We'll look at why you want to use a button instead of a div in some cases, on click. We'll look at all that, don't worry. For now, just learn the principles of, good user experience design, and then the steps involved. So you start with a wireframe, you go to prototyping, and then you focus on accessibility. Things are clear enough, they are visible, and things like that. So what tools do you need? You need Figma, you need Dribble, you need Behance, you need Pinterest. I'll share a link to all these, but what do they actually do? So on a website like Dribble, Dribble is where you get your motivation. If you want to build a landing page, if you want to build a profile page, if you want to build an e-commerce, if you want to build an e-commerce shop and you don't know where to start, okay, Dribble is a nice place to get some inspiration. So I can come and say something like this and go, well, I want my e-commerce website to look like this. So if you are doing something like, for example, if you're an artist and you're looking for a way to monetize your work, for example, if you do I don't know how to call it, the custom made bags and wristbands and whatnot, you can build your website and sell your items on your website, and you can get an inspiration of something like this. So if you want to build, for example, a portfolio, so you can just come here and say portfolio, and then look at inspiration, something like this, something like that. Oh, this looks nice. Okay, looks nice. So Dribble is where you get your inspiration. Now Dribble is not always it's not always inspiring. So we have another website called Behance, and I always pronounce Behance as a Maragoli. I don't want to say it. Makwata will laugh at me. So Behance is where you also get your motivation. So if you want to build dashboards, for example, for an e-commerce shop, you come and search dashboards. If you want to build something like something like an architecture business website, you can come here and look at inspiration such as this. So you don't always have to create something similar to what you're seeing. You can copy multiple let's say components. So for example, you might like the way this image is here, but you might want to copy the nav bar that you saw on Soma Story. So you can copy the two and move along with them. Another place you can get inspiration is Pinterest. So you can go to Pinterest and just search something like mobile phones or mobile app. And then as you can see, you can, you can look at this. If you're creating a banking app, why is it not opening? My goodness. If you're creating a banking app, you can look at this and say, this is actually pretty good. I think M-Pesa should have something like this. And Momo Pay. Anyway, of course, you can also create something like this. This is actually interesting. If you think, is it long and hard? It's very easy to con somebody. Especially if I say today, I've started doing forex, and I want to show people how much money I've earned. I can create my own application that looks similar to a real app. Okay, so which app do we have for stock? Is it? No, it's not stock. Forex trading. So for example, IC Market. I can create a mobile app that looks exactly like IC Market. Of course, I'm not going to deploy it to Play Store, but I will install it locally on my phone. So on this mobile app, I will say my balance is 1 million Kenya shillings or $1 million. And then I have another page that shows how much money I've earned. Okay. So of course I can do a video and show you the mobile app, and you'll be like, that is the real app. That is the production. That is not the demo account. And somebody will believe, because they don't know coding, they don't know software engineering, they don't know how to build mobile apps, but you do know. You can even simulate an actual transaction. You can even go to if it's a plus button, click on it, and then enter the amount you want to withdraw, and then click withdraw, and the amount is withdrawn. So, I'm not saying that is how Forex scammers scam you people, but I'm just saying that is a nice way to get money. So after this course, and you cannot find a job, can you approach a Forex brother and tell them, I can build for you an app that looks exactly like the one you're using to trade, so that people don't ask you questions. So all you need to do is just open the app, simulate a transaction, and voila. You can even create an app that looks like M-Pesa, and in a matatu you tell the conductor, I've sent you money. and then you do your own thing with the app. For the love of God, never do that. It's just 100 shillings. Come on, just pay. But anyway, I want you to try and open your mind with these things. So so Pinterest is also a nice way to get inspiration and get ideas if you're stuck. The other tool we need is now Figma. Figma is where you draw your wireframes, your prototyping. So you can just go to figma.com. So I'll just get rid of this. I'll go to figma.com. I'll click on get started. Contact says get started. As you can see, this is now poor design. Okay. I mean, they've tried. It's a good looking website, but as a user, this is very confusing. Now, do I click here or do I click here? You see the confusion. Okay. So let me just get started for free. I will log in with my password and use email. Oh yeah, security guys, security is very important. None of your accounts should not have two-factor authentication. There's actually this app, it's called Authy. It's what I use for two-factor authentication. So I'll go get my code. So I'll enter my code. Right. Why is it showing you guys my code? Don't worry, it's expiring in 5 minutes. So KJ. Yeah, like MT5, we can clone MT5. In fact, we will do that in one of the office hours. We will take an actual trading app and create a clone of it. So once you log into Figma, assuming you want to create a website for people to sell their cows, or a website for animals dating. I have a farm in Nyeri. I have a bull. My ex-girlfriend has a farm in Nakuru. She has a female cow, and I want those to hang out. So let's assume you want to create that website. So of course, Figma is straightforward. Just sign in as I have done, and then you come to a new project. Now, where is new? They have changed so much that it's even hard to navigate in here. Let me see what needs to be done here. Why do I create a new project? Okay, so I have a draft here. Again, this is poor design. Why would you have draft instead of just saying new project? So I'll just say click, and then I'll say I want to do a design, and then it will take a second, and then it will show me this thing here. Okay, so like I said, if you want to our website, what do we start with? We start with the home page. So I'll pick the this is a rectangle, right? The rectangle tool, and draw the home page for my website. So this is the home page, like so. So what do I want to have on my web page? I want to have a photo of a cow and another cow, and then I want to have a plus. So for now, I'll just draw manually. I'll just assume this is a cow. Okay, let's not complicate things. I'll also assume this is a cow. Okay, and what do I want these cows to do? I want these cows to hang out, to chill. So I will draw a plus here. So I'll do that, and then I'll do that. Okay, and then what do I want to do? I want to create a button that says book. So I will come get the rectangle tool, draw it down here. Okay, and then this rectangle tool, I want to give it a color. So let's assume I want to give it black. So on the right here is where you get properties to manage whatever you've drawn. So let's go for color. Where is color? So the color is right here. So I want mine to be black. So I'll go to black, like so. And then the text inside, I want the text to say book. So I'll say book now. Okay. And then, oh my goodness, what is happening here? Let me try that again. So I will say book now. Okay, I'll go back to this tool, and then I want to position this at the center, and I want to increase the size of it. So the size, I come here, I increase the size. All right, And there we already have our homepage. So we have 2 cows, we have a plus in the middle, and then we have the book now. But what else do we need? We might need navigation icons. So I will copy this. I'll move it here, and then I'll reduce the size a little bit. I'll also reduce the size of the text to something like 14. And then I want to copy this, and the button I want to copy paste. So this is this I'll say home, like so, home. Oh my goodness, why can't I type home? And then this I'll say contact us or about us, okay? So if you're building a website for a client, before you write any code, you do this and then you send it to them, okay, so that they can approve. And then you ask them, is the home icon where you want it to be? Fine. Is the about us button where you want it to be? Fine. If it's not where they want it to be, you move it somewhere else. So this is the you know, it's more like the brainstorming bit of it. So Figma has quite a lot of options, and we will cover this in the office hours class tomorrow. So in the office hours class tomorrow, we'll go about creating something like this. Let me just go back, and something like this. So this is actually the very first user interface for Soma Stories when I was starting. This is what I had, the very first user interface. So tomorrow we can go into details how to do something like this. I don't know if I did prototype this one. Let me see if I did prototype. I'll hit play. Let me see. So if I click this, it goes to, if I click that, it, you know, shows that continue. I can of course go back, I think so. No, I cannot go back. Let me see. So I can come here, say view guest stories, and I can view these guest stories. So there is some little bit of the functionality, but in the design, okay, not in code. So it's easy to change, okay? It's easy to say, hey, I don't want the title here, I want the title at the top. Yep. I want the title at the top, and so on and so forth. So that is an intro to Figma. If you want to learn more about Figma, about creating about creating wireframes and whatnot, come to office hours tomorrow. We'll do all that in office hours tomorrow. Yeah. Now let's look at some code. We've talked about design. Before I jump into code, are there any questions? Any points of clarification? We said in this course, we don't want to leave anybody behind. So if I've mentioned anything that has left you confused, do type in the comments as I get something to drink. The next part will need some coffee. I would have added it to my coffee. I didn't get Nescafe, so I bought Domans. George Kuthi, who is that was sleeping? I want to know. The travel agent. Desmond, how to correlate this project to that? We will look at that I think if you have enough time, we'll look at that. The office hours will be tomorrow from 8 p.m. Right? 8 p.m. Anyway, yeah. So what have we learned so far? Number one, we've learned that front-end engineering involves building the user-facing side of application or software. So if you have a website, we have three important parts to any software. We have the back-end part, we have the front-end part, we have the data. So right now we are focusing on the front-end part. And when you talk about the front-end part, there's only one king that rules them all, JavaScript. And in this course, we are going to use a framework called Next.js. So now I've confused it because I've mentioned JavaScript and now I'm mentioning frameworks. What are frameworks? So we will look at that. A framework is basically like boilerplate. Imagine you want to build a house. And with JavaScript, you have cement, water, you have, the construction workers, you have nails, you have, hammers. So that is JavaScript. So if you want to build a house from scratch, you of course start from scratch. You start by digging the foundation. You lay the blocks for foundation. You mix the concrete with water. We also have to learn design. Yes, if you want to do front end, you have to learn design. There's no shortcut. You have to learn how to create awesome designs. Okay, no student of mine will get out of this class and go and design websites that look like they were designed in 2000. No, good quality designs. Where was I? Yeah, so if you're just doing it with JavaScript, you start from scratch, dig the foundation, lay the foundation stones, or whatever it is they call them, and then, start mixing concrete and water. It's too much work. Before the house is done, you spend almost a whole month laying the foundation. Now, with a framework such as Next.js, the framework comes with the foundation already, in place. The walls are already in place. The roof is already in place. So all you have to do is just to hit the nails so that the roof can stay firm. Add some slab or whatever they call it on the walls. Do some paint. Put some tiles. So that is what our framework does. It just comes with it comes with code, and then now you it's easier for you to proceed with it. So so rather than teaching all of JavaScript, we are going to focus on only the parts of JavaScript that you require to develop websites with a React-based framework, which is what Next.js is. But for the love of God, don't cram anything here. Just understand, to build front-end, we need JavaScript. And we are not using JavaScript from scratch. We are using JavaScript that comes with some code already written in it. So that is the framework, Next.js. So if you've written anything in your notes, just write JavaScript, Next.js. So let's look at some code. And I don't want you to cram where to put console.log. I don't want you to cram where to put the if statement, but just understand the logic, understand the flow. Okay, understand the flow. So the first thing we are going to look at here, it's just basic JavaScript code. So let's go through the code. I don't have a name to give it. So if we look back to our classes about function, in JavaScript, this is how we define a function. And remember, a function has three parts: the function definition, the instructions that the function has to perform, and then calling the function. Okay, so that is what is just happening here. So we define our function. We say our function is called calculate price. And what will our function take? Our function will take the status and the original price. Okay, so we are sort of like trying to calculate the price minus the discount. That's what you're doing. So we have the discount, which initially we set it to 0. okay? And then we have now the tax, which we set it to 0.07. And then now here we have our control flow. And then you say, if this person is a VIP, so that is what this means. Okay, there's a term they use to explain this, but don't worry about that. Don't bother about that right now. So we are saying, if the status of that person is VIP, then their discount is 20%. If the original price is greater than 100, then the discount is 10% for big spends, okay? And then here we are saying, now we calculate the final price, and the final price will be the original price times, I swear to God, I have no idea what this means. I had some idea when I was copy pasting it from ChatGPT, but now I have no idea what they mean. But I just know we are calculating discount and tax. So, and then here we want to print this. So we'll say the customer status pays this, and then we have this to fix. But what does this mean? Let's try to run this code and see what it means. So I will copy this code, and then I will open my VS Code. Which project should I open? Okay, oh no, wait, I'm using the second screen. I'm supposed to use the, okay, let me just create this file first. Okay, so I have created a file here called discount.js, and I'm going to copy the code here, and then I will open my terminal. Let me just zoom in a little bit, and then I will open my terminal, and at the bottom here I'm going to say node discount.js. Now, like I always say, you don't need to know all the syntax, where to write what, because AI does that for you. But you need to know how, you need to own that code. You need to know how to manipulate that code. Because, for example, I might come here, I might say, I don't want any decimal places. Or maybe let's say I want only one decimal place. Where exactly in my code do I change so that I only get one decimal place? Okay, so if you look at our code, this is the line that is responsible for printing anything we see on the screen. And as it says here, customer, which is right here, and then we get the status of the customer, which is VIP, and then we say pays, which is right here, and then we get the value. Now, if you just look at the code without understanding anything, everything, your guess is as good as mine. This is what determines the decimal places. So if we change this to 1, for example, and we run our code again, as you can see, we are only getting one decimal place. Okay, what if we change it to 0? Let's try 0. Okay, let's try 0 and run our code again, and as you can see, we are not getting any decimal places at all. Now, assuming we don't want the discount to be 20%, we want the discount to be something like let's say 40% or 50%. So if it's VIP, we want the discount to be 40%. So let's run our code again. And as you can see now, the total amount changes because we've given the VIP customer 50%. Okay. So that is why I'm insisting on don't cram, else goes. I mean, if you can read the code, if you can, cram and understand, fine. But here I want you to just understand the flow. So we've defined a function, and we've given the function the parameters. Remember, a function in programming language, in any programming language, is supposed to perform a certain action. Now, it's performing a certain action to what? That is what we pass here as the parameters, okay? And then here we have variables. Remember, this is how we define variables in JavaScript. And then this is how we define control flow in JavaScript. And then this is another function, what is this? I've forgotten. Yeah, this is just a variable, and then this variable we are assigning it to this calculation here. So remember, I said a variable can carry any data type. It can carry a float, it can carry a string, it can carry another variable, it can carry another function, and so on and so forth. And then we are outputting our code right here. So that is basically what's happening. Now let's look at another code. Let's look at this code right here. So what's happening here? Number one, we are getting a list which is defined by this. So our list will be called orders. So we say const orders, and then we say 50, 120, 300. And then we are calculating a loop here, but it looks sort of different from what we've learned so far. Okay, and here we have orders for each, and then we get the order, and then you say console.log calculate price guessed order. You know, this is just another way of showing you how we can chain. It's not really chaining, man, the term has disappeared. The term has disappeared, but this is actually a function. What you see here is actually a complete function. We also have this here, constant formatted price, and then we are doing prices map. Now of importance is this thing called map here, and this thing called for each here. These are what we call methods, and methods are special functions that JavaScript comes with them. It's not functions you have defined. It's not functions you will have to call, you know, the normal way we call functions, like we've called this function right here. These ones are inbuilt in JavaScript, and you'll see a lot of them as we write as we work with code. Another function is called filter. Basically what you're doing here is we have a list of edges, and then we are trying to filter the edge where age is greater than 18. And that is what this does here. It's just some, you know, don't worry about that. Just know that you can filter. We also have another method here called find. So we have a list of users, and this list is like, you remember dictionaries in Python? This is like a dictionary. So we have the ID and name, and then we have ID2 and name, and then what you're doing here is we want to find from our users list where the username is link. So that is what is happening here. User name is link. So once you find somebody called link, stop everything else. Just stop there. So that is what is happening here. Another thing we have is what you call destructuring, and this is extremely very important, because in any website we get data and display data. So how do we do that? So for example here, if we are not using destructuring, we will get a function, and then we'll pass in what we call properties. Okay, don't worry about properties, just know that properties is like, you know, the data that we want to get. And then in the properties, we want to get the properties.title, and then we want to get the properties.price. Okay, and then down here we have our function, a different one that, you know, uses destructuring. So instead of you saying return properties name, properties price, you can just say, you can just define your function right here, and then give it the parameters. So we have the title, price in stock, and then in now where you're displaying your data, you have things like this. You know, in stock, you have title and you have price. So as you can notice, the difference here is we do not have the props thing. Okay, this props thing is not here. It's just title, prices, and in stock. Why am I showing all this code? I'm not showing you all this code so that you understand what's happening. I'm showing you all this code so that you familiarize yourself with what you're seeing. Like for example, right here, I want you to familiarize yourself with a few things. Number one, this thing right here. You see this return here is what will actually be displayed on the website. And I want you to familiarize yourself with this the text inside the curly braces. Nothing else. Don't try to cram the code. Don't try to understand the logic and whatnot for now. Also, I want you to familiarize yourself with how we define functions in JavaScript. So we have this function here, and then the function is called product card, which, you know, descriptively will display the product. So for you to display a product, what do you need? You need the title of the product, you need the price. I think this microphone is way too close up in my mouth. I want you to be here. Yeah, that looks better. So if you want to display a product or the product details, you need the title of the product, the price, and you also need to, you know, to indicate is the product in stock or not. Yeah, KJ, React is still in the package. Actually, this is React. Oh, SQH. I'm not sure. You can just try to follow along. If you feel like it's not clicking, you might want to, um, you know, what is it called? Fast forward is moving forward. What is going back? I've forgotten what it's called. Anyway, we also in Next.js we'll also have something that looks like this. Okay, this is actually very common. You'll see. Sorry. Oh, rewind. Yeah, my wife says it's rewind. So you'll see a lot of this in React, and this is how we used to track what you call state in an application. So for example, if you have a button that you want somebody to click, you can initialize the state with 0. So that is what this means. So initially our likes is 0, and then once the user clicks, we take the 0, we add 1 to it, and then we call this yeah, Java is Lil Sam, I hope you're not confusing Java from JavaScript. JavaScript is mainly used in the front end. Java is mainly used in the back end, especially when you need, complex business logic, like for example in banks, sometimes in games, and in simple web applications. So Java has its own frameworks. I think Spring Boot is one of them. But for JavaScript, you have Angular, React, Vue, Next.js, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so let's look at another JavaScript code. So here we have a variable here that stores what we call an array, and the array will be of ID, a name, age, and status. And you can imagine here we are getting a list of users, but we only want to update one user. Okay, so if you're applying for a marriage certificate on a government website, so you have a list of witnesses. So you have like 4 witnesses. Who needs 4 witnesses when anyway? So let's just assume you have a list of 4 witnesses, okay? Or maybe let's say you are applying for passports for your children and there's 10 of them. And then you want to get 10 children, but you want to update the age for only 1 child. How do you do it? In JavaScript, this is how you do it. So this is our data, and then we perform the update. So here we have this variable, and we are assigning it to this. So we want to copy everything from the original user, but overwrite the age with 25, okay? And then we console.log user.age, and then console.log updated user.age. So this also pay attention to this. You'll be seeing a lot of this in JavaScript. Actually, we are not going to write any code. We are only going to read code. Yeah, we are not going to write any code. So here, don't focus on the syntax for now. Just focus on the logic that in an actual application, we might want to get a list of users, but only update one user, okay? And then we have also things like template literals. You'll also see a lot of that in our code. And this is where we display a specific product. So if you go to Soma Stories, for example, and I can just show you with an actual website. So I can go to Soma Stories and then I go to series. And then as you can see, I'm seeing all the series that I have, the books. I can see all the books that I have. But what if I want to see only this one right here? I can get the ID of that one book, and I can just paste it here. And then now it's only showing me, okay, it's the wrong ID, but you get the point. It's only showing me the details for one book, not all the books. So this thing here, doing this, is handled by JavaScript. Of course, there is some backend logic, but primarily the display is handled by JavaScript, as I've shown you here. Oh, the ID was 19, not 9. All right. So we have things like arrow functions, where it's just like a function. So this is a function, and then we define the parameters in here. And then down here, I want you to pay attention to what we've done here. We've used this thing called div. Okay, and then inside div we've used other tags like img, h2, p, and span. Okay, we also have asynchronous JavaScript. Asynchronous means, you know, it's asynchronous. I don't know how to explain that. Okay, so assuming we want to get a list of stories, okay, so we want to get a list of stories and display the stories to the user. So here what you will need to do is you have to define a function that will get the stories, and then we have to go and actually get the stories, and then, you know, perform all those things. I think this is the wrong code. I wrote it somewhere else, and when I was copy pasting, I pasted the wrong code. But yeah. And then we can also fetch a story by ID, where we can say get story, and then we pass in the ID, and then we pass in the ID that we just saw when we did an actual example right here. Yeah, I know you're confused. There is a lot of code, and you don't really, you know, understand exactly how it fits in. But now let's have an actual example. Let's build a simple web page, and then let's fetch stories. We are going to fetch stories from Soma Stories, and then we will display those stories. Let's jump into it. So as always, the first thing you need to do is you of course this is now what we want to do. We want to actually now see everything in practice. So since the framework we are using is called Next.js, so I'm going to go to the browser, and I'm going to go to their official documentation. So here I'll say Next.js. And inside Next.js, I can just click the docs. And what you want to do, especially when you're reading the docs and trying to, you know, practice as well, you want to reduce the size of your windows. So I'll just reduce mine to that size, something like that. Let me just bring it to here. Okay, I don't want to see these. I don't know. How can I minimize this? Oh my goodness, what have I done? Okay. All right, let's just do this. All right, so we can go through, you can go through the documentation and understand what, you know, what's happening. But if you just want to jump right in, practice a little bit, and then jump back to the documentation, you can come to this installation right here. You see this thing called installation? Yes. So this is what you're going to do. And if we read, we are saying create a new Next.js app and run it locally. So that is the aim of this particular piece. So quick start, we're going to create a new Next.js app named my app, and then we will cd into my app, and then we will visit this thing right here on the browser. So how do we do all this? So number one, I'm going to create this folder, and so I'll just hop into my Windows instance here. So I'll create my folder, and this project we are going to call it story clone. Okay, I think it's story with an I. So we'll say story clone, and we are going to open it in VS Code. So I'll open my VS Code. Where is it? Visual Studio Code, this one right here. So I'll say file, open folder. I'll open my folder. It's in the desktop. Alright, so once my folder is open in VS Code, I will open the terminal, and then my terminal is right here. So let's proceed. As always, I don't like using PowerShell, so I'll shift to CMD. So I'll click here, I'll say CMD. Where is CMD? CMD, and then I'll close this one right here. I don't need it. So my window is all messed up. I don't know where the delete button is. So this right here, I'll delete it. All right, so now we are getting to the actual, we are getting to the actual thing, how to build a website. So we'll go back to Next.js documentation. Ah, my goodness, what have I done? As a matter of fact, let me just open the one. Okay, it's right here. So we've created our project. We are inside our project. Create a new Next.js app named. All right, so these are the commands you're supposed to run. I was trying to understand where do I get this, but these are the commands you're supposed to run. So I'll just copy this command right here and paste it here. Okay, but my app is not named my app, it's named story clone. So I'll say story clone. Now you understand why learning CMD is very extremely important, because most of your work, most of your commands like run, install this, will be inside the command prompt. So we'll hit enter and you get an error. PNPM is not recognized. Okay, so if you get that error, you can change the command that you're using. So right here, as you can see, we have npm, we have npm, we have yarn, we have ban. So what these things are, they are just what we call package managers. And you look at what package managers are. So for now, I'll change mine to npm right here, and then I'll copy this command, and then I'll paste it here. But again, my app is not called my app, it's called story clone. Everything looks good. I'll hit enter. It takes a few seconds. So the assumption here is you've already learned CMD, you've installed Node.js, you know how to create a folder and open it in VS Code, and you understand the programming basics like variables, functions, control flows, and so on and so forth. So we'll give it a second to do its thing. Of course, it has done quite a lot here. Come and tell them. No, you come and tell them. You come and tell them. Guys, my wife is reminding me that it's time to eat. Yeah, Jonah Seka. Yes. Please support the channel and support the cause. I actually realized the other day that this light here is consuming a lot of power. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm using actually two lights. So I have this one right here. Do you see it? Yes. And I have the ring light right there. Okay. So they are consuming a lot of electricity, as well as my desktop, and of course I had to buy a nice microphone so that you guys can hear me clearly, so that you don't get lost. So I'm seeing 41 people watching. So if the 41 people can send, I don't know, send whatever you want. Send whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah, so Next.js is taking quite a while. So, like I always tell you guys, if you want to learn these things fast, you have to expose yourself to as much material as you can. As a matter of fact, right now, if you're on TikTok, your TikTok feed should be content from software engineers. If you're on Facebook, you try and search software engineers and make sure your content is from software engineers. And I advised you guys, after watching such a tutorial, you go and watch 3 other videos from different creators and read 3 articles from different creators. That is what it takes to understand these things. For example, here, I don't expect you to have mastered what is happening. I know you can try to practice and you'll just go through the commands as I've done. But for you to actually understand, and when I say understand, I don't want you to understand where an if statement goes, where an else statement goes, how to write an if statement, where to put the colon, where to put the braces. I want you to understand that if I want to get data from the backend, this is how I do it. If I want to display a button that can be clickable, this is how I do it. Okay, so that you start programming your brain to move towards, your goal. So after this tutorial, go find 3 other videos that talk about front-end development using Next.js. Watch 3 videos from 3 different creators. Look for 3 articles. You can just Google you can just go to, I think the most reliable website with awesome tutorials right now is what we call Medium. So you can just go to your browser and say build a landing page with Next.js. And you can, of course, videos are here and it's about 10 minutes. I think we've gone for almost 2 hours, but you can just watch the videos. You can find articles like this one right here, or build a landing page with AI and Next.js. Getting started, layouts and pages. So this is the official Next.js documentation, which can be a little bit daunting for beginners. So you want to find a tutorial that is for absolute beginners. If you're stuck completely, you are not getting anything from the tutorials, you're not getting anything from the videos, you can of course schedule an office hour session, the one-on-one session, so that you tell me, hey Mwalimu, I want you to sit down with me and take me through Next.js slowly, step by step, okay, until I understand. All right. So our command has, done its thing. I think it's done. So we can go back to the documentation website and see what's next. So after you've run this command, you want to cd into whatever you've created. So if you've noticed, we've had this created here, and it's what they are saying we cd into. Now remember, we changed our name. Right here, we changed from my app to story clone. So we can cd into story clone, cd story clone, and then what happens after you cd into story clone? You say npm run dev. So you'll copy this and we'll paste it here. We'll say enter. Allow access, of course. I don't know what I'm allowing access to, but and then we go back to the documentation. What next? So the documentation says visit this thing right here. So when they say visit, they mean open it in your browser. So after your project is done, you'll get these two links right here. So instead of copy pasting into your browser, as a software engineer, you need to be fast, extremely fast. So we can just click Control, long press Control, and then you click one of them. So I can click this one right here, and then my website is live. Hooray! So what we've done, we've just created our first website, okay? But as you can see, we've not given it all this information. So where has it gotten all this information? Now, this demonstrates what I was saying earlier. We could have just done the entire thing without Next.js, with JavaScript only. But as you can see, our project already comes with, with some code, which you can use to speed up our development. So, what you can do next is you can try to look around the project and understand what it is. You can come to README and read it. And, I think somewhere in here, they've also explained what to do if you want to change. And then we have this, guys, my wife is cooking, so excuse the noise. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. So we have this folder called app here. And inside app, we have this thing called page.tsx. So TSX is like JavaScript, but it's what we call TypeScript. It has, its own advantages and whatnot, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's the same convention, same way we define function, like right here. So we are defining a function, and we are calling it the home page. So in Next.js or in React, this is what you call a component, okay? And a component is a reusable part of your code. It can be a button, it can be a card, and we look at all that as we proceed. So we can see the first thing here we have is an image right here, and the image is coming from next.svg. But we can try and delete that image. So right now, this is what we have. We can come here and delete that image and go back to our website. And as you can see, the image at the top here has disappeared. What if you want to display something else there? What if you want to display a title? So to display a title, you can use these things called H1, which is short for heading. So I can say H1, I hit enter, and then right here I say story clone. Okay, so let's go to our website, and as you can see, it's right here. What if we want to change this? We want to say welcome to story clone. So we can come here and look for the h1 tag, which is right here, which is this right here, and you'll say welcome to story clone. Okay, welcome to story clone. So we go back to our browser, and as you can see, welcome to story clone. Now there are interesting things you have to note here. Number one, remember I said you pay attention to that return thing, which head div. This is what I was talking about. However, we also have this thing called class name flex. This is what we call tailwind, and it's what helps us make the website look beautiful. So if we remove something like this, if we remove this on our heading, welcome to story, let's just remove it. Go back to our browser. As you can see, it's sort of, the styling has sort of disappeared. Okay, pay attention, look at this. And I think I have to do this so that you guys can see. So I'll just do something like that. Okay, I'll close this, we don't need it for now. Oh my goodness, okay, so welcome to story. Let's do Control Z so that we can return whatever was there. Do you see what has happened? This one has changed. Okay, so this is what we call tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS helps us make our page look good. Assuming you want to display a blog card and you want to do it using tailwind CSS, so you can just come to the browser and say tailwind CSS blog card, and you'll go to, where's tailwind CSS? I need the documentation. I'll go to the docs, and then right here, I think it's here. Card. Do you see card? Okay, it's not here. So let me go to showcase. And then we have, oh, these are quite heavy. We're just looking for a blog card. So ChatGPT. So I'll say ChatGPT. And then I'll tell it, give me a blog card in Tailwind CSS. Oh my goodness. Blog card in Tailwind CSS. Make it super simple. So of course, ChatGPT will do its thing. And so how about if we copy the entire thing? So you'll just copy this. And then right at the bottom of our title, story clone, we want to paste it right there. So we want to paste it right there. Yeah, you see now, this is why you need to understand your code, because ChatGPT has given me this thing called class, but Tailwind does not use class. As you can see here, it's class name. So you'll have to rename this to class name, this to class name. So I'll do tab. The AI thing is doing its magic, so I'll just do tab, and then it will autocomplete whatever it is I want to generate. And of course, it does not have img, it has image. Remember the image that we deleted, it was image, not img. So you'll do image, and there's an error here. I don't know where this error is coming from. So let's look for an image component. Let's look for an image. It's image. So we can just copy this. And then we replace this entire thing right here. So let's see if we've done anything or we've just done our own thing. And as you can see, we have our block card. Of course, the image is not there because we are referencing the wrong image. We are referencing this image. So it's having issues displaying it. But as you can see, we have our blog, and if you click here, it's doing nothing. We haven't done that yet. What if we want to display multiple blogs? Okay, so let's just do some little bit of formatting here. So I'll select this up to this point. I'll do tab. And then I'll copy the entire blog div. So it's up to this point. So I'll just copy this up to here, and then I'll paste it down here. Okay, and as you can see now we have 2 block cards. Okay, so but we don't do that. Like I said, we are not going to write any code. If you look at the current trends right now with AI, you either shape up and learn how, is shape up the correct adjective? Anyway, you either learn how to use AI first, or you'll get, trampled upon. So what you want to do here is you want to invoke AI, you want to ask AI for some help. So instead of doing all this, we'll say in the page.tsx, fetch the data from, and then we have to find somewhere we can fetch data from. And for now, we can just go and ask ChatGPT 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I'll be done in 10 minutes. All right. I actually have another session with my wife. We are learning data analysis. This is in preparation for the data analysis course that I'll be hosting from 4th May. So we're just trying to, understand the basics. Anyway, so we look for a dummy data. So we can say, for example, generate dummy blog post in JSON. Dummy blog post in JSON. All right. So we'll hit enter. We'll wait for it to generate the dummy data. All right, so it has generated the dummy data. We are going to copy it, and then we come here and say in the page.tsx, fetch the data from and display in cards. So we'll hit enter, wait for it to do its thing. So in a normal bootcamp, learning front-end engineering takes about 4 months, okay, or it takes about 3 months depending on your speed. But this is a normal bootcamp. This is not a place where you go and find a curriculum already created for you. We are only focusing on what we need to create actual applications. Okay, so of course we'll go way faster and accomplish way more. So it has done its thing. As you can see, this is the code that the AI has written. It has added, and we have all these things right here, but there's an error. So you can of course jump into the code and try to fix the error, but for now I can just copy this and tell it we have an error. Okay, you can say anything. You can say we have an error, or just paste the error as it is. Where is that error, by the way? Okay, we'll just let it do its thing. So this is actually using GPT 4.0, which is an AI model. It's actually it's an old model, so of course it will struggle a little bit. Let's see. Any errors? Yeah, we still have errors. Oh my goodness. So we can just copy this. My computer has frozen. But before we copy, we can go to the browser and see if anything is displaying errors. So we go back here. We copy this error. Okay, I need to copy from the bottom. So we'll copy this error up to this point when it worked successfully, and then we paste it here. So if you have some money, you can buy a better model. Okay, I see I have Cloud Haiku here. Let me see if this will work. So you can buy a premium Copilot. This is what you call GitHub Copilot. You can buy a premium one, and you'll get a whole list of models here. Like the one I use primarily to code has quite more than as you can see here, I have quite a lot, and I can expand and select whatever model I want. If one is misbehaving, I shift to another one. So let's see if we have any errors. No, let's go to the browser. And as you can see, we have our blog, our articles displayed. So let's see what happens when you click on this. Nothing. We haven't handled that yet. When you click on this, nothing happens. So our articles are being displayed, okay? But like I always say, you have to own your code. You have to look at the code and know exactly what to change. So we'll go back to page.tsx. And for example, I don't like, what is it? Let me just scroll to where the data begins. So I can look at this and say this image is a little bit too small. I want to increase the size. So I know very well to increase the size I can change here. This is not something you have to ask AI. If your change involves changing one text, one figure, one number, don't ask AI, because you also have to understand your project, how your project works, so that when it breaks, you know where to fix. So what other thing can I do? For example, if I want the title to be a little bit bigger than it is right now, all I need to do is come and change this from H1 to from H2 to H1. So I'll change that to H1, and I'll also come and change this to H1. And then I go to the browser and see if that has happened. What did I do? What did I do? Which code did I touch that I was not supposed to touch? Let me see. So let's look at the error. P class name text H1. Okay, that's weird. Let's go here and see what happened. H1 is correct. H1 is okay. P is okay. P is okay. So why are you throwing an error? Code. Yeah, I can't figure out where this error is coming from. Anyway, I can just Control Z and leave it the way it was. Wait, let's see. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, that marks the end of our class. I'm super hungry. I need to go and eat. Anyway, so just to do a recap of what we've learned so far in this course, in this class, we've talked about what front-end engineering is. And we've said front-end engineering is developing the user side of a software. And we've said software comes in three parts. We have the front end, which is whatever the user sees. We have the back end, which, does all the logic, like for example, balance, things like those. And then we have the database, which is the data part. So front end is the front end bit of it, focusing on the front end bit. We've looked at Next.js, how to install Next.js and run your first application. And your homework or your take-home exercise for this class is to create a Next.js project locally and run it. Do share your achievement in the achievement channel. The achievement channel is this one right here. So post here your achievement after you're done. If you have any challenges, post in the help channel. Tomorrow we will have office hours where we will look at Figma right here. Where is it? I think I closed it. So we'll look at Figma, how to create wireframes in Figma, how to do a prototype, a very simple prototype. And then if the time allows it, we'll also have a look at this again, how to fetch data from the backend. Tomorrow we'll look at how to fetch data from the backend and display it in our front end. We'll also look at advanced techniques to use AI to speed up your development, and also how to troubleshoot your code when you have challenges with your code. I think that's it for this class. I hope you've had a good time. If you've had any issues, post in the help channel and we'll have a look at it. That's it, guys. I don't think I'll make notes for this course because I had not prepared the notes in the first place. But I hope you're reading some of the articles I wrote. Why am I not using dark mode on Discord? I have no idea. Considering everything else is dark mode. I don't know why Discord is not dark mode. And it has been like that for a while. I do hope all of you have read every article I've... Not this one. This one right here. So I've written a few chapters here: algorithmic thinking, CLIs and Git, getting started with GitHub, and contributing to an actual project in GitHub. I also do hope you have submitted your assignment from the previous class. So let me just go to GitHub and see how many of you have submitted the assignments. Like I say, guys, if you come to this class and you don't attempt the assignments, you don't exercise, you don't, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. So I'll go to the project, which was Collab version 2. Yeah, and I'm only seeing 3 pull requests, and there is 39 people watching this video. So that means 36 people have not attempted the exercise, which will make the future classes very difficult for you. So I'm seeing a submission by Delta Sam, Yaya Abdi Nasir, and KB Basusha. Icon, where is your submission? Makwata, where is your submission? Esco joined us late. Alex Nganga, you joined us late. That's okay. Gate info snap, I don't see your submission here. Oh, somebody left a comment. Anyway, yeah. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow from 8 p.m. as we look at wireframing and have a look again at front-end applications. That's it. I have to go and eat my supper now. Bye. Get out of here. Go drink some coffee or go pee and sleep.